Howdy folks, you're watching Deuce and Guns, and today we're talking about EDC. EDC, Everyday Carry. And what I was going to do now, I carry a lot of stuff every single day, but today what we're going to focus on is my Batman style utility belt and what I carry on it. Now I basically have 2 to 3 things I carry every single day on my belt, and I'm going to talk about that along with which belt do I use and why I use a certain type of belt. First of all, what do I carry as my handgun, as my everyday carry handgun? Usually I carry a Smith & Wesson. Go ahead and drop the mag, and I've already cleared it because I'm already indoors and already on film. But there we go, Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. This is the 1.0 version. They have a 2.0 version that is slightly enhanced. Pretty much everything about it is a little bit better, but if you already have the M&P Shield, the original M&P Shield, there is no reason to upgrade unless you just want something new and fancy. And I carry that shield in a everyday holster, Kydex holster here. I got this off Amazon. All these links will be in the description below the video. I don't think that's going to be against the new terms and conditions with YouTube. I will find out when they, or if they ban this video. Alrighty, and along with that, we travel to the side here and we have a flashlight. Now, I don't carry a flashlight every single day on my belt. I almost always do carry a flashlight of some sort. Now, I use a large flashlight like this. This is, let's see what I have here. I swap them out a lot since I get them for the review channel. But this is a, this is an Olight MT2, which is a really good flashlight. I get that to focus there. I actually just did a video review on that not too long ago, and it's fantastic. Very bright. Has some issues with it, but it is very bright here. I've had to turn off some lights here so you can see me a little better in this unusual situation or setup where I am right now in the bunker. But it is a good option if you need a high power 18650 power flashlight on a daily basis. I don't usually need one on a daily basis, but if I'm going to the farm, there's a picture of me set up on the farm actually doing a black powder shoot. That will be a video coming out shortly. And you can see I'm carrying this light there as well. Okay, traveling on over here, this is pretty much the last thing I carry on my belt on an everyday basis, and that is my Leatherman Wave. Now there are many options. There we go, if you can get that to focus there, camera, there we go, Leatherman Wave. There are many options out there for a multi-tool, and a lot of them are fantastic multi-tools. The Leatherman Wave, from my experience, the Leatherman Wave has the most usability, the most useful tools packed into the smallest, lightest package. Now, and that's for me. I can use every single one of these tools almost on a daily basis, but you may not be able to. You may have different needs, and your needs might push you to a different type of tool, and that is cool. That is no problem at all. That's the reason why we have variety in our tools. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So the Wave really works for me for an everyday carry. Now, the Wave is not Leatherman's best multi-tool, not by far. The Leatherman Surge, I would highly recommend, if you can get away with it, the Leatherman Surge is the end-all be-all of these multi-tools. And if you really want to go hog wild, the Leatherman Super Tool is fantastic as well. Now, I keep on saying Leatherman because that's the company that I have the most experience with. I've only owned Leathermans, so I can really speak about them to my heart's content. But there are many tool companies out there that make fantastic versions of their own versions of multi-tools that are fantastic. Victorinox also makes a fantastic multi-tool. It's a more expensive one, but from what I understand, it is nicely made. The knife is much better than the Leatherman knife. Now, because of my Boy Scout tradition and influence, I carried a Swiss Army knife, there we go, a Swiss Army knife forever, since I was a little kid, all the way through to, I graduated college with a Swiss Army knife in my pocket, and then when I graduated college the first time, I got a Leatherman for when I started my master's degree program. So I've been carrying a Leatherman for a long time, but I also have a lot of experience with several different Swiss Army knives. Now this Swiss Army knife was the last one I bought. You don't really wear Swiss Army knives out, you'll lose them in the woods. That's usually, that's in my experience. You lose Swiss Army knives, unfortunately, because they are not cheap, by the way. But I got this because this was the very first Swiss Army knife that I ever saw that had a locking blade on it. And it's a good sized blade, and that is a great blade. It's kind of dull right now. I've not really taken great care of it, but I've used it a lot. I mean, I've used this thing so much, there is no more Swiss Army knife symbol on this knife. I think it's called a Hercules, but what I liked about it is that, and I was already thinking about pliers and needing pliers. And instead of scissors, instead of the really crappy scissors, it has really crappy pliers on it. And these are tiny. These are very tiny, but these are great for splinters, something of that nature. But if you need to work on a car with it, you're not going to MacGyver your way through a car with a real Swiss Army knife. You just aren't. You aren't. But you can change out the battery terminals with a Leatherman. Okay, and if you look back here, you might see some wires and stuff. This is just my microphone stuff, so this is not everyday carry. This is while I'm on camera. Now let's talk about the belt itself. Normally, and for probably 4 or 5 years, I've had this belt. This is a bull belt from Deltec Force Manufacturing or Engineer, whatever it is. Deltec Force makes what's called a bull belt, and it is a single piece of leather that's a 1/4 inch thick, and it is massive. Now again, I have had it for 4 to 5, maybe even 6 years, and so it's very supple at this point. I have worn it every single day for many years. So it really conforms to your body and is fantastic. I was setting up for this EDC video, and I like to find you guys the prices and find great deals for my viewers, because I'm here to save you guys money. That's one of my goals, is to provide you guys with good intel of what to buy and what not to buy, especially what not to buy. And I remember paying about 35, 40 bucks for this belt, and I feel like that was a lot for a good belt anyway, because I'm kind of a cheapskate myself. And these things are going for like 70 bucks now. If you're willing to pay 80 bucks for a belt that will last pretty much 20 years or more, there you go. There you go. The Deltec Force bull belt is the way to go. But I was looking for an alternative, because again, I don't want you guys to go out and spend a bunch of money when you probably won't actually need that. And while I was doing some research, actually the night I started doing research on belts, I got an email from a viewer, Titus Custer, and he's the owner, operator, and I guess the head honcho of Custer Custom Leather Belts. And let me show you, I've been wearing his belt here for about a month now, every single day. And I have taken it to the farm. I have worked on a Deuce and a half with this thing. I have worked on, actually you've seen this in a couple of videos of me working on the F250. But we're gonna compare and contrast this belt with the much more expensive Deltec Force belt. Now here is the Custer Custom Leather Belt. It's made USA, handmade in the United States by Mr. Custer himself. And the Buffalo belt, or bull belt, I keep on calling it the Buffalo belt because that's the size of it. The Buffalo bull belt is the thickest version they've got here. And let me just zoom you in there and show you how much thicker it is than the Custer Custom Leather Belt. And we're just going to take a look here and see how thick these things are. Okay, there we go. We got a little bit over a 1/4 inch. That's a thick belt. Sometimes I do have some issues going through some belt loops because this is such a thick belt. And both of them are 1.5 inch wide belts, by the way. And let's test out the Custer Custom Leather there. And it is a little bit below a 1/4 inch. So it is thinner. Okay, first of all, let's take a look at the buckles here. Both of them are roller buckles, which I like. I like the roller buckle. I don't know why I do, but I just do. It makes me happy when I see it. Oh, FYI, the Custer Custom Leather Belt was provided free of charge for me to test out. So that's my FTC disclosure right there. And again, I will give it a fair review like always. Now, if you flip over to the back of the buckle, both buckles are secured with Chicago style screws. Now, the brass screws in the Deltec Force belt, those are free to work their way out. I have lost one, and one of them I had to tighten, and it was almost about to come out. The Custer Custom Leather Belts, their Chicago screws, he actually Loctites those in. Now, the bull belt came with spare Chicago style screws, which is nice, but I'd rather have screws that don't back out. And let's take a look at the leather between or around the buckles on each of these belts. The Custer Custom Leather Belt has a thicker leather going around the buckle. It does not shave it down to make that curve, which means that the area around your buckle is going to be huge. You're going to get this hung on things. It's just inedible because it sticks out over almost 1 inch from your belt, from your belt loops or from your pants. This is going to stick out quite a bit up front. If you're used to a big buckle, That's not a big deal, but if you're not, you'll probably get that hung on something and you will notice it. Now, even though this is a thicker belt overall, because you can see the thickness difference right there is quite large. But what they do is, right after the belt, I think, is this called the keeper? Whatever this is called, I think it's called the keeper. Correct me in the comments, I can't remember. But right after that, they shave down that leather. You can see that it goes from very thick, the 1/4 inch, to probably, I don't know how thick that is, but it's much thinner to go around there, so they can smash that down and squeeze it down to where it stays remarkably the same width all the way down to the buckle itself. Now, one of the problems when you do that is the fact that there's only two places where a belt will probably fail. Now, you could fail and get it cut in the center somewhere, and it could crack or whatever over time, but more than likely, just over normal wear and tear, a belt is going to fail either at the buckle or at the belt hole. And you can see, after many years of use, that this thinner leather is starting to show a little bit of wear and tear right there, versus this much larger, and you can see there's some polishing of the edge right there from the buckle, but other than that, it is completely unscathed. Of course, it's only a month versus 5 years. Also with the belt here, I've noticed that the buckle is quite a bit stiffer on the Custer belt here. The Custer custom leather belt is stiffer, and one of the reasons is that the cutout around the buckle is smaller. It's not as large of a cutout. You can see right there, there's a compare contrast right there. You can see the cutout for the Daltec Force belt goes much further down. You just don't have as much room to maneuver that buckle around. Now you can see that crack right there. I don't know if that's from the belt drying out, or if I cut that or scratched it really hard, because it is a little bit of a divot right there. You can see, there you go. You can see that right there open up a little bit. So it is actually under the surface. And I'm not sure if that's from a flaw in the leather, which, I mean, again, this is off a cow's hide. So there is going to be some issues there. And it could have also been from when I'm clipping or unclipping my pistol. So that could have been an issue as well. There's no telling. But I have seen a little bit of wear and tear on it, which is to be expected because it is what I do to it. I am not easy on anything that I own. There's also a little bit of issue with the stitching right there, I noticed. And I'm not sure if it looks like it might have been, I don't know if that was glued down or if that's a place. Yeah, it looks like that's where the stitching was ended or began or whatever. And you've seen a little bit of lifting of that stitch. Now, both these belts are good belts. There's nothing really wrong with either of them. They both function just fine. The Custer custom leather belt has more economical choices versus the Daltec Force belt, which is, I mean, it's rock solid. There's nothing wrong with it except mostly just the price. And it's a little bit bulky sometimes. If you're going to expect to wear this stuff with dress pants, you're going to probably have an issue with the buffalo size, the bull size belt here. So you would need a thinner belt anyway, which they both offer. The bull belt, you can get this thinner as well. Well, guys, that's it for me today for my EDC carry video. Now, this was just about my Batman utility belt and what I hang on it, and that was it. Now, I have several other EDC options and items that I carry on the watch, my wallet, keys, wedding ring, all that good stuff, that are some of them are unusual choices, and I will do that in a separate video. But what do you guys carry on your belt? What kind of tools, Leathermans, flashlights, knives, whatever, what do you guys carry? Because I'm always interested in what you guys use, because what works best for you may not work for me, but I will probably learn something from you guys, and hopefully you learn something from me. And if you did, go ahead and give me a like and go up subscribe, because a lot more is on the way. And if you have any comments, questions, or show ideas, leave that in the comment box of the video. And of course, you guys have a great day. See ya.